let's talk about a couple things that have been in the news this week.
Sure.
We'll start at the beginning of the week with the Solar for All announcement, which is supported by federal money. What is this program? What is this money going to do?
Yeah, you bet. So we're very fortunate that the Environmental Protection Agency announced earlier this week that we were a recipient of a $160 million grant for solar for all is what it's called, and as described, the primary emphasis of the program is to support investments in terms of expansion of solar panels across a multitude of program areas, and that includes for low-income homeowners across the state. It includes multifamily residential apartment complexes that are primarily serving low-income families. It also has a program that will allow us to invest in community solar projects where if you're not a single-family homeowner or you don't live in a low-income multifamily apartment complex, you can still buy in and participate and receive utility credits associated with solar power energy being generated at a community facility or community center, for example. And then finally, dollars that will be specifically focused on investing in solar energy for tribal communities across the state.
Do you have a sense of how much? Did you say it's 120 million?
160 million.
160 million. What will that buy? How far does that go? And is there state matching dollars or other matching dollars?
Yes. So the grant in and of itself is likely to yield around solar panels or benefit roughly 6,000 to 7,000 households. And in addition to that, we expect that we're going to generate up to 40 megawatt hours of energy through this program. But again,
can you put that in context?
I think about 1,000 households, usually 1 megawatt hour, can power 1,000 households at any given moment in time during the day. So you can imagine, 40 megawatts could be up to 40,000 households worth of electricity need.
But only, you said 5,000 properties.
Only 5,000 properties, but that could benefit more families, and some of that is distributed among community facilities versus households. But on top of that, in terms of leverage, this is what makes us really excited, which is because we also have substantial amount of resources from the state legislature that enable us to make investments in solar as well as other clean energy opportunities, heat pumps and the like. But in the solar program, we have, for the last 7 or 8 years or so, collectively, we've probably had about $100 million invested for incentives and supports for solar energy. It also puts in context this grant, which is $160 million, is more
than double.
Yeah, more than double what we've been able to invest ourselves over the last 7 or 8 years. So it really puts into context just how significant the federal resources are that are available right now and how important it is for us to be very competitive in that space.
If somebody isn't low income but wants to get solar on their house, what kinds of rebate and incentive programs exist just day to day these days?
Well, I think the most important thing in that context is the market transformation that's happening with regard to all this investment. As we have more dollars going into supporting the production of more solar panels for all these various community needs and different programs, it creates an environment where we create more jobs, we create more small businesses, more supply chain businesses in this production chain, and as a result of that, it starts to bring the cost down of solar energy in general, and that ultimately will benefit residents across the state, no matter what income level you're
So in essence, what you're saying is, if I'm looking at this and saying it doesn't pencil out right now, maybe in 5 years, 10 years down the road, we're going to scale solar to the point where it does make sense for somebody who's
Absolutely.
not benefiting or not eligible for some of these.
And I would venture a guess that we're probably closer than 5 to 10 years away to that.
So just a corollary to this, sticking with solar for a moment, for a while there, and maybe it's still happening, it seemed like every time you turned on a YouTube video, you would get an ad for somebody trying to sell you solar. And I know that there was rising concern about essentially solar scams, and that the agency, I believe, had request legislation to the state legislature this year about bad actors in this space? Because obviously, if that's going on, it undercuts what you're trying to do
Yes.
with this public financing. So explain to us what was going on there and how you've tried to address that.
Yeah, and I think it's not unusual that in growth sectors you see an environment where there's an emergence of players that may not be always upfront and on the up and up in some of the details with regard to disclosures, with regard to the opportunities that are actually available in the space for rebates and other kinds of incentives.
And sort of the promise of energy savings. This will pay for itself in a certain number
Over
of
promises, and it is not unusual where, when you see the emergence of new sector growth, that you'll see some folks that are trying to take advantage of consumers. This is why we have the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Protection Bureau. It's also why we have the AG's office, the laser focus on making sure that we're protecting consumers from scams such as these related to solar panel installations. So tightening up the disclosures, tightening up the regulatory arm of this work is a good reminder for us that as we're entering into this green economic transformation, we also need to guard against folks that are trying to take advantage of people in that context.
Do you have the sense that the changes that have been made go far enough? Is the jury going to sort of out and you'll have to see?
Well, we feel confident that in the legislation that's passed, that it'll provide the base level protections that we think are important for people to understand and know what they're getting into, and also to ensure that folks are getting what they're buying in terms of solar installations. If we need to make further modifications, we'll see how that unfolds. But we're confident that as we go, balancing the regulatory environment with the incentive and the market-based work is the best way to go to make sure that we're protecting consumers at the same time really pushing for new technology and new innovation.
You can check out the rest of the show by clicking on the link below or by watching Inside Olympia Thursday evenings at 7 and 10.